Hello and welcome to the Radiate Wellness Podcast with your host, metaphysician, Reiki master, and hypnotherapist, Christy Clemens Hoffman. Each week, we will discover teachings, tips, and tools to radiate your best life ever with practitioners, authors, and luminaries to help you on your path. Wellness, joy, peace, abundance. What do you want to radiate?
Hello and welcome back to the Radiate Wellness Podcast. Today we radiate wisdom from my new friend Holly Duckworth, who's a fellow QHHT practitioner like me in Durango, Colorado. Thank you so much for joining me today, Holly.
Thank you for having me, Christy.
Yeah, actually we're radiating wisdom from them, correct?
Right, from on high.
I know, we're in that woo-woo field, aren't we? Oh my gosh. So your book is Finding Purpose, Surprising Wisdom from the Higher Self.
Right.
This is a fairly brand spanking new book, isn't it?
Yeah, I think early November. Yep.
Yeah, copyright 2021. Yeah. So why do you think, well, let's back up. I'm getting way ahead of myself, Holly. So tell us about what this book is, what it's about.
Yeah. So early in my QHHT career, I was noticing how clients came into their sessions with the same questions.
Right.
I'm like, well, they were pretty darn good questions. Questions like, what is my life lesson? What is my life purpose? How do I commune with my higher self? And even more amazingly than the fact that the questions were similar, the answers were too.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. So that kind of got my curiosity sparked. Mm-hmm. And I started making really detailed notes on the answers to the questions.
Yeah.
Over years.
Yeah, because how long have you been doing this?
I've been doing QHHT since 2013, 2012. Yeah. Yeah, so.
For a while.
Yeah. Yeah, so not quite 10 years yet, but soon.
Soon, yeah. And you were finding the same answers coming through all these different clients who have no idea of each other.
Right. They don't know each other from Adam. Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah. And I'm the one that gets to hear the same answer over and over and over again. And I had been trained in my PhD to do a specific kind of qualitative research.
Okay.
And so out of my own curiosity, I had absolutely no intention of writing a book or anything. This was just my own curiosity with all of these detailed notes. I took that data and cycled it through some qualitative analysis.
Oh, wow.
Like, was it my imagination or was this legit? How similar were these answers? Right. Could I find themes in the answers? And I kind of blew myself away with the results of the research because it was nuts. It was like there were only 4 answers to what is my life lesson, and there were only 3 answers to what is my life purpose. And I was like, whoa, this is ridiculous. Yeah. And so I kept doing that, again, not really with any intent of writing a book. So this went on for years, like literally was 450 sessions over like a span of 3 years. And it was only after that period that I said, okay, there's enough wisdom here to write a book and share it as kind of universal wisdom. Yeah. So that's kind of how I got to the book. Like, of course, accidentally, right? But really just out of a sense of my own curiosity for myself.
Yeah. And it was too much of a coincidence to be a coincidence. that all of these answers were coming through. And, the subtitle for your book is Surprising Wisdom from the Higher Self. Why surprising?
Yeah. Well, number one, surprising of how few or how consistent these answers were. Mm-hmm. That was really amazing and surprising. And then within the answers themselves, how simple, even though they're really universal answers, when you really studied the answers and the themes around the answers, how simple it was in terms of the messages being relayed on life lesson, life purpose, and how to commune with them.
Right. So, yeah, we think that our life purpose is this big kind of monolithic thing, and it's not.
Right.
No.
Right.
The very first session I ever conducted, the life purpose was to notice beauty.
Yeah. The life purpose.
Right.
The purpose of the entire life. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Notice beauty. Yeah.
Exactly. So you mentioned that they all kind of distill down to 3 purposes. What are those?
Yep. So the first one is life as some sort of experience. So we come here to have a specific experience. Now, let me throw in a caveat. There were in the analysis some outliers. Okay.
There always are. Right. There are always exceptions.
Fall within these themes. Yeah. Right. But the vast majority of the sessions could fall under one of these 3 themes in terms of life purpose. The first one is to have some sort of experience. So this could be, and these aren't things like, be the best player of basketball that ever existed, or play the guitar better than anyone who has ever played it. It's not stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It's experiences around different ways of being. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so it's generally things like, I use the term in the book, things like virtues. Okay. Right. So things like humility or honor or loyalty or things like this. Mm-hmm. And so we can have these experiences for these kinds of things. So that would be the first one. And I'm sorry, for purpose, there's actually 4. So the first one would be you come here to have some sort of experience.
Right. And what else? What other purposes did you find?
Okay. So the second is a life purpose of service. Mm-hmm. So I come here as kind of like a supporting character in someone else's purpose. Okay, so I'm a helper for someone else.
Right.
So that would be a life as service.
Yeah. Dolores found this in her sessions as well, and that comes out in Between Death and Life, one of my favorite books that she wrote. But yeah, service, right.
Yeah. So my whole life purpose might be, so your client that you spoke of earlier, the life purpose is to recognize beauty?
Notice beauty.
Notice beauty. That would be experience. That would be a life.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the experience of beauty. So a life of service might be, I came here to be the mother for someone. Uh-huh. The big deal wasn't me, but the big deal was the being that was coming through me, and then what they were going to do in the world. And so then my life of service is mom. Exactly.
Right. Being supporting them in their purpose.
Exactly.
So what would be of service? Pardon?
And third is a life of love. Okay. Yeah. So this is about having a mission and an experience of bringing love into this dimension. Okay, so light workers, we hear that term. So bringing the light, bringing love. And so often for these people, they won't have forgotten as much as the rest of us would have in terms of the other side of the veil.
Right.
And so they're able to bring that, the divine love, the source energy into this really super dense dimension. And then that's their mission. That's their purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a beautiful purpose too. They all are. Yeah. What's the fourth one?
So the fourth one was actually the most common.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Almost half of the data set, so over 200 sessions.
That is surprising.
Had this purpose. And the purpose is to be.
Yeah.
The purpose of being.
Right.
Just being. Okay.
Exist. Yeah.
Being the only Christy that's ever lived in all of eternity. Being the only Holly that's ever lived in all of eternity. And so, at first glance, you can kind of think, well, that's kind of mundane. That's kind of boring. Really? I'm just here to be. But when we think about what life really is, and then how important that state of being really is, this actually becomes a really profound purpose.
Yeah. Well, it incorporates all the rest. When we be, it's like we're bringing forth, we're anchoring, right? Anchoring the love. We're being of service. We're, having the experience. So it kind of encapsulates everything.
Yeah. And I think what the wisdom, I might even say the sacred wisdom that comes through that knowing that my purpose is being, what that brings to the moment to moment, right? It's not about achieving anything. It's not about a decision that I made in the past. If I understand that my entire purpose is to exist in this being, in this moment that has never existed before, then what a way to live, number one. And then number two, that really, it lets you off the hook, right? You can be present to be when you know that there's nothing else that you need to do.
Right, absolutely. And it's almost confusing in that we expect to do something.
Right.
We don't expect to just be.
Right.
Where it can be confusing. Yeah. Right. And you noticed some outliers as well. Like, what kind of outliers were you finding?
Yeah, so this might be someone one of the stories I share in the book is this client that I had, and in the book I've changed all the names and pronouns and disguised them completely. So so sometimes I can't remember, did a man or a woman in the book? Because I'm thinking actual client, but I'll try to remember the book, again, to protect the client's anonymity. But I had this man that he had been one of these, I don't know if you remember, back in the 1980s and maybe even the early 90s, dolphin shows were a big deal.
Oh, right? Sure. Yeah, I did hear that.
Would play with balls and jump through hoops and do flips and, all kinds of things. So luckily, I think we've kind of moved beyond that to recognize the sentient and sovereign nature of the dolphins. And we don't do that anymore so much. Exactly. But he was caught up back in that industry. And he was a trainer. He was a dolphin trainer, but he was telepathic. Mm-hmm. And he would regularly communicate with them. And the people he worked for kind of didn't know he was doing this, but he knew that he was communicating with them. And he went on to then create some of the earliest, laws and regulations to protect the welfare of the dolphins. And so this was kind of one of those outliers where it was super specific. It's not about love. It's not about being. It's not about experience. It's about, no. You're here to make things better for the dolphins.
Which is service and love.
Yeah. Yep. But his was like super specific.
Super specific. That is, pretty niched down, I would say.
Yeah.
Right. But it does seem to tick the other boxes as well.
Yeah. So then just one part about that session story I didn't put in the book. I mean, because you got to like edit it something.
You got to cut off something. Right. Exactly.
But at the very end, one of the shows that he was working for, they were going to shut down because all these places were starting to shut down. Yeah. And there was this one dolphin that he was really, really close to. And he got in the tank the night, actually he was leaving. He got fired before the dolphins were actually, I don't know what they did with the dolphins. I'm not sure I want to know what they did with the dolphins, but he was in the tank with this one dolphin that he had a really special relationship with the last night they were going to be together. And oh my gosh, they had this moment of just connection and love, and they were able to communicate, on this really, really high level of understanding exactly what was going on. And so he had told me about this, in the interview before the hypnosis in his QHHT session. And, tears were shed that day in my office about how emotional and deep and profound this one moment that one dolphin was.
Absolutely.
In his session, that dolphin came to speak through him.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. The dolphin came through and had a message for him. Of course, the dolphin had long since transitioned, and the dolphin wanted to thank him and show him gratitude and give a message of just remembrance to him in the hypnosis through his higher self in the session. It was so amazing.
That is so beautiful. Wow. And wow, that is incredible. So why do you think people ask, what's my purpose?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. I think that there's really kind of two things about this. I think there's a lot of cultural programming that goes around, feeling guilty, right? I mean, if God has a plan for me, right? We're taught in a lot of our religious organizations and family groups. And so then there's people that want to know, have I let God down?
Oh, sure.
Am I not fulfilling my purpose? Am I not fulfilling God's plan? And then therefore I should feel guilty and do something different. Sure. And then there's the flip side to that very same coin, which is this kind of this achievement oriented, how far yet do I have to go? Sure. Am I there yet? Or how do I get there? And back to the doing, right? Am I doing what I need to do to fulfill my life's purpose? So one is kind of there is two sides of the same coin. One is kind of from a guilt standpoint, and then the other one, and shame, and then the other one is from a achievement and doing. Am I checking all the boxes in terms of what I'm supposed to be doing?
Right. Yeah.
None of the answers are ever, well, other than those rare ones like the dolphin guy, but almost none of them are about anything to do with doing.
Exactly. Yeah, and I find that sometimes people come in and they feel like there's something more that they're supposed to be experiencing or doing or being, and that they're missing the mark somehow.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like what you were saying about checking all the boxes. Am I what am I not seeing? What am I not thinking of that I should be doing to, like, if there's there's also can there be more than two sides on anyway,
Maybe.
Go with it. Maybe there are. So yet another flip to that coin that there's got to be some sort of purpose. Otherwise, why be here?
Yeah. Right.
Otherwise, what is the meaning?
Yeah.
And having some sort of purpose to give their life meaning.
Right. Wow. And I'm sure you see this in your QHHT sessions too, but and I don't know if it's uniquely American or what, is it unique to our culture, but just this striving.
Yeah.
This anxiety of striving. Well, I've got to do more and better, and it's like, oh, you're missing the whole point in the striving. It reminds me of a great quote. I'm going to butcher it, but that's Jim Carrey. He says something like, I wish everybody could be rich and famous to realize that that's not the answer. Doesn't make me happy.
Wise words from Ace Ventura, Pet Detective.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah. But it's the same thing. It's like, well, if I do this, then that's my purpose. But then you get to that, and it's like, oh no, wait. No, I guess I gotta do this other thing. That's my purpose. And it's just like this constant striving. And in the meantime of all the striving, you've just missed your life.
Yeah.
You missed the whole thing.
Yeah. Abraham Hicks said that we are so focused on achieving and connecting with happy moments that we forget to have a happy life. Right? It was kind of the same thing. It's like we can live our purpose in just like everyday life.
Exactly.
Now let me ask you this. How do you feel that clients change? How does their life change once they realize
once they know their purpose?
Yeah. How does that affect somebody?
We're not allowed to connect with our clients after their session, so I only have a handful of wisps here.
If they let you know.
Yeah, when we're reconnected with clients. But I have a theory, though, that the answer to whether it's any one of those four answers for the average client is really hard to choke down.
What do you mean?
Is really unsatisfactory.
Oh, it's like, that's it?
Well, that's it? What?
All?
No. And then it takes a while to kind of really wrestle with it. And I think that maybe some clients may not wrestle with it. It may be so challenging to wrestle with the concept that my entire life purpose is to be, that they actually don't get there. But those that do, It is really, really profound. I mean, think about how your entire energy space, once you realize you don't have to strive for anything.
Yeah.
It's completely transformative.
I see people when they come out and we're talking about it afterward, they relax.
Yeah.
They just, all of a sudden, it's like you can feel this huge weight off of them.
Yeah. But I don't think it's easy.
No.
I mean, I think you can get it at one level, but I think really understanding.
Live it.
It's not easy. It's simple, but not easy.
Yeah, that's an important distinction, right? Where they realize, okay, well, it is really that simple, but now how do I parlay that into my waking life? How do I live?
It really doesn't matter if I get that new job. It really doesn't matter what car I drive. It really doesn't matter who my friends are. It really doesn't matter. La, 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 la. But what does matter is what's going on in here.
Right.
It's my state of being.
Exactly. And, we can choose to make changes to this or not. And then, whether it doesn't matter if you've got these friends or those friends or this job or that job, why not just enjoy the friends you have and the job you've got? All the pressure's off.
Exactly. I don't know if you get this question a lot in your sessions, but I have, and especially of late, I would say the last couple of years, but where should I live?
Yeah, I do get that quite a bit.
Yeah. And most of the time the answer is wherever you want to live.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I got that today. My session today. Right, because all things being equal, which they kind of are, you're taking yourself with you.
Right. Wherever you live, you're taking yourself with you. Yeah. So again, what matters is what's going on here, right?
Exactly. And so you are kind of equipped to help people kind of sort out what's going on in here.
Yeah, but as well as you well know, I mean, you have your QHHT session. It's 5 to 7 really intense hours. You leave with your recording, and you can choose to never listen to that recording again.
I have had people come out of their session, and I'll say, well, wow, wasn't that transformative? What changes do you think you're going to make? Well, but you don't understand. My spouse and the people I work with and that all these things, you just don't understand how that can change. And I'm like, okay, well, thank you very much. We've learned very little here. Listen to your recording. No, I only joke.
Yeah. And it's, it might take literally years for it to really sink in. And that includes, that question of what is my life purpose?
It does. We can choose to live it or not. Did you know that Radiate Wellness is more than just a podcast? That's right. We're also a comprehensive, holistic wellness practice. Find out about our services, practitioners, and upcoming events at radiatewellnesscommunity.com. While you're there, visit our podcast page to read more about our great guests and even donate to the podcast. If you like our podcast, you can help in other ways as well, like subscribe or follow us wherever you're listening right now. Tell a friend, a family member, or a coworker about the great content you find here. And if you wouldn't mind, please give us a thumbs up, a 5-star rating, or a positive review. Sounds like a small thing, but it really helps. You might like to know about our Facebook communities while we're at it. We have a free community, the Radiate Wellness Community, on Facebook for news and great free content. Our subscribers group is Radiate U, as in the letter U, but also, well, you. There you'll find curated replays of past classes, guest interviews, and more. And now, back to our podcast and back to our guest. Now, as I said, you're kind of uniquely suited to help people with some of these questions. You've got a PhD in psychology.
Yeah. Yep.
So, and you actually see clients for therapy too.
I do a program called Higher Self Integration, which is feeling that connection on a day-to-day basis. And then I do what's called existential therapy, which is a specific form of psychotherapy that uses the great big existential givens as leverage points to shift our psychology, to shift our thinking.
That is so very interesting, so very cool. But you've not always done this woo-woo stuff.
The last 10 years have been a trip.
Yeah. Okay. Spill, girl.
Well, my bachelor's degree is in mechanical engineering.
Such a left brain thing.
Yeah. And I have a master's degree in management. And for 30 plus years, I worked in the corporate world in aerospace and automotive manufacturing, doing all kinds of engineering things.
Oh my gosh.
And I only found Dolores completely, again, accidentally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I had already gotten my PhD in psychology. I was led that way, but it was so weird. I was working for an organization that sponsored my tuition. So that was
yes. Right.
Very appreciative of that. But I honestly, the whole time I was getting my PhD, I kind of didn't know why or how or what I was going to use it for, because I certainly didn't need it for the job that I was doing.
Yeah, a little overkill, a little overachiever.
I was just fascinated and curious, and I was like, yeah, why not do this? The red carpet's laid out in front of me. Why not take advantage?
You can study anything. Why not a PhD in psychology?
Yeah, why not?
That is so amazing. I know. So, you could have studied anything, honestly. You could have studied Russian literature. You could have studied, ancient world history.
Well, a lot of my work as an engineer, especially in manufacturing, was about changing the behaviors of people at work, in their work. Okay. So if you can think about one of the jobs I had, assembling an automotive component, okay, putting tab A into slot B and doing all of the bolts and nuts and everything to put the pieces together. And there are ways to do that are very efficient. And there are ways to do that aren't very efficient. And then, of course, as you're doing this, you're working with lots of other people who are perhaps doing it efficiently or not efficiently. And so then I recognized that to be a good engineer, I actually needed to understand how to communicate with people and understand their behaviors so that their behaviors could be managed and motivated in a way that was the most efficient for the process.
That actually makes a lot of sense.
So I actually was approaching psychology from an engineering standpoint, completely oblivious to the cliff that was in front of me a few years later.
That is magical. That is, crazy. Oh my God. Right? It's all the breadcrumbs that are laid out in front of us, and we don't necessarily. I was trying to tell this story very badly at our practitioner reunion in January. How we look at these events in our lives, these things that we do that we're led to, that we've got the breadcrumbs in front of us, and we don't always understand why or how they fit together, until they do.
Right. And then the worst thing is, if I looked at that, should I get my PhD in psychology and gone, oh no, I'll never use that, right. not picked up the breadcrumb.
That's true.
You can't see the end zone, right?
Right.
Then that's the worst thing that can happen, just trust. Take the next step and trust. Take the next step and trust. Take the next step and trust.
I love that. Now, your road to finding QHHT and Dolores Cannon, who I've got, if you're watching on YouTube, I've got a picture of her up on my shelf. So finding your way to Dolores Cannon and QHHT is another great story.
Yeah, I absolutely would have never, ever, ever, ever heard of her in my world.
No.
And my son, who at the time was 20, he got arrested for a DUI. Mm-hmm. And we lived in Phoenix at the time, and Phoenix had this very notorious, hard-nosed sheriff. and first offense, 21 days in what was called Tent City. So they didn't actually build jails. They put incarcerated people in tents in the middle of the desert.
In the desert.
At 120 degrees. And this was my 20-year-old son.
Oh, boy.
And so you can imagine, I mean, it was like just an emotional wreck, just deciding to visit him. I could only have phone calls. And even those were rare. And he was in for 21 days. And in one of those phone calls, he said, "Mom, I found this book." I think really. And it was Dolores Cannon, Convoluted Universe, Book 4. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm talking to him about the book, completely clueless of what it was about. And so we get off the phone and I, Amazon, click, get the book. And I start reading it and I'm like, oh my gosh, everything I've ever believed in my entire life. And here it is in print. And I've never seen it in print before. And so, I was like instantly hooked with her writing. And so my son gets out. By then I had read many more books of hers. And so he got out in December. She was going to be speaking in January. She would have these like weekend seminar things, 3-day events.
Right.
And she would do group hypnosis. So she would put 200 people into hypnosis simultaneously. And that was going to be one of these events. And so I told my son, I'm like, let's go see with her. And the whole time I'm like, oh yeah, I've got so many questions for her about her research and how she did her writing and all this. But that hypnosis stuff, it's not going to work on me, right? So, and it was, it was a fun trip for me and my son, a little healing after his traumatic experience. So of course we get in the room, first hypnosis, I'm having profound experiences. I'm like, oh my gosh. And my son had profound experiences too. And it's like, so she brings us out and it was only like maybe an hour-ish.
Yeah.
And oh my God, this works. This really works. Like I'm gonna run up to the stage and tell Dolores,
oh my gosh, your stuff that you do that everybody knows about, and I only recently found it. Oh my gosh, it worked. Did you know that?
Doing it for 30 years. Did you know it works?
I love that story.
So that was January, February, I was in training. I'm like, oh, this is it. I'm done. I found it. This is what I'm doing. Yeah.
Wow.
Sign me up. I'm finished. I know.
And then eventually you left the mechanical engineering.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, completely replaced it.
And all of that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And you're located in Durango, Colorado. Beautiful vacation place. You've got this wonderful condo to practice in. So that's your office.
Yep. Behind me. This is my office. Yep.
Amazing. I love your painting on the wall.
Yeah. So this is the same woman that did the book cover. Her name's Meredith Rose, and she goes by Blue Starseed. She's amazing. And this painting was her HHT session.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
It's her and this other woman, the gray woman, are in the universe, and there's like a little nebula in her hand, and her and this other one, she has a crystalline body, and her and this other woman are creating universes.
Ooh, I love that. That's amazing. So yeah, you've been doing this QHHT for almost 10 years. So obviously you like doing it.
Yeah.
Maybe a little.
Yeah. I'm addicted.
What's that?
I'm addicted.
Right? right? It's like, when's my next fix? What do you like best about it? What really drew you to this work?
Yeah. So there was a gap there between my PhD and finding Dolores. Because I found Dolores in January 2013, and I finished my PhD in 2010. So there was like 3 short years there. And so I was doing talk therapy, Jungian analysis, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it was like really talk therapy, in my opinion, my personal opinion, really ineffective.
It has its place for some people, but some people just find that talking about their trauma over and over and over and over and over again doesn't move it.
I mean, honestly, it's great for the therapist because you keep coming back and keep coming back and keep coming back because it isn't particularly effective. And so, and I'm saying that tongue in cheek, it's really terrible that way. But with QHHT, I mean, it's literally it's one and done. You're only going to ever have one session. You've got your recording. You can work with your recording. I'm still working with a recording of myself in hypnosis from 9 years ago.
Yeah.
You'll listen to it. I still get good stuff out of it. So you're going to work with that recording for years, and you don't need me in the room. It's
right.
Just your recording and the higher self, right? Mm-hmm. And then that's the other thing that happens in QHHT sessions is you're kind of, once people know what it feels like to have their higher self speak to them through them, so many people are like, oh, that's what that is. That's who that is. Then they're plugged in. Then they know that voice for the rest of their life, right?
That's right.
So you don't need me. You don't need a third person. Just go talk amongst yourselves, right? You and the higher self.
Right. Absolutely.
That's what's so just rewarding.
Yeah. Yeah. People just can't believe that wisdom is coming out of them, right?
Yeah. And they can have that connection. Now they know what that connection feels like. They can relive that connection at any moment of any day.
Yeah. I love that. And then you mentioned before that you've got this higher self integration program too, where you can help people to just rely on that connection, develop that connection at will, and work on it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I found that more often than not, the answer is meditation.
Yeah. Oh my God.
How do I connect with my higher self? Meditation.
Right?
How do I release this stuff? Meditation.
Yeah.
How do I recognize it? Meditation. Yeah. Yeah. Or love.
Do you find like literally almost, I would say 95% of all sessions, the higher self gets that plug-in meditation.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
So then I'll ask, I'm like, okay, well, does she know how to meditate?
Right.
And then they'll give her a little bit of advice, but it's basically quiet your mind. It's as simple as that. And then I'll say, well, how often should she meditate? Every day. Okay. Well, how long should she meditate for? Are we talking hours? Or are we talking minutes? 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. Not long.
No.
Yeah.
Sometimes people will say, well, what form of meditation would be best? That would be their question. What form of meditation, right? There's so many different ways to do this. There's just you're making it too complicated, right? Just sit quietly.
Yeah.
Quiet your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a wonderful, wonderful question that always gets the same response. Yeah, that and love. The answer to everything is usually love.
Yeah.
Which I love too. Yeah. Now, I was going to ask you too, so we have a life purpose, so people want to know about their purpose in this lifetime. do you also find that there is a soul purpose that stays with us lifetime after lifetime?
It could be. It could be. So sometimes the life purpose, what I found, it takes multiple lives to really have the full experience.
Yeah.
So, for example, I think I use this example briefly in the book, but let's say that I want to have an experience of humility. I want to understand humility as a soul.
Right.
Okay. Well, then I'm probably going to have an incarnation as a homeless person or someone who, the lowest rung of society as possible, to learn some humility. That would certainly help.
That would check the box.
I'm also probably going to have a life as a prince, as a millionaire or a billionaire, to experience humility, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So then that would be, for example, that would be a purpose that would transcend, a soul purpose that would transcend lives, because I want to see that experience from all sides, with it, without it, from upside down, from downside up. I want to understand that kind of experience from all angles.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I found that when I first started doing the group sessions, the group regression sessions, we'd go to a past life, we'd go to a future life, and then we talk about the current life. What are the common themes? Mm-hmm. You explain how does this past life experience that you chose to have, how does it reflect what's going on now, and then how does it reflect in a potential future life as well?
Yeah. But I don't know, and I wonder what you think about this. I'm still on the fence of if I even believe in past lives. And I'll say that I got to explain that, right? Because, doing what I do for a living.
Exactly.
But it's, so if you think about it, there's no such thing as time.
Right.
So that's an illusion. So all lives are now. So really all lives are simultaneous. They're not past. Okay.
Exactly.
Kind of how we heal sometimes other lives across lives in QHHT sessions.
Right.
So there's no such thing as time. So there's no past lives. There's just other lives. And then if you think about if we're all one, then my other lives and your other lives are the same other lives. So we can kind of all tap into all other lives. So I think when we say, some people might think, oh, I want to explore my past life. It's like, I think it might be complicated than that.
Yeah. So in doing this work, I do more often than not say what we consider a past life. What we consider a potential future life. Because, these are just other experiences that we would want to have. No, I'm totally on board with you there, Holly, because all time is happening at the same time. It's just wherever, it's like all of the radio stations are playing at the same time.
Yeah, which is so hard as a human being. It's really hard to wrap our head around the fact that time is an illusion. But we're told that over and over and over again, it is.
And we're taught that it's, time is a line.
Yeah.
On the left is the past, on the right is the future.
Yeah.
We put everything in between. Yeah.
So I don't know.
As Dolores said, if you want to get your mind twisted like a pretzel.
Right. I've been doing this for almost 10 years and I'm still like, I'm not sure I understand this concept.
Exactly. If we look at all of these other experiences as allegories for our growth and learning.
Yeah. The way I try to wrap my head around it is kind of like the movie The Matrix.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not the ooey gooey part where they're like plugged into, like the bodies are plugged, not like that. But the fact that you can drop into this fabricated existence that seems completely real, and you can actually, pull out of it as well and see it, see the program for what it is as a program, as the holodeck, kind of thing. That's kind of the only way I can wrap my head around it. And think about it. You can drop into that Matrix program in the 1400s, in caveman times, in 3000 AD,
In our current time in another city with another body.
Yeah.
It gets crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy. If you try to think too hard about it, it gives you a huge headache.
Yeah. Well, I think I counted one time, like all of Dolores Cannon's, the 5 Convoluted Universe books, is something like 3,000 pages, I think, or over 2,000 pages. And she was just touching the surface in 2,000 pages of trying to explain this. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It is convoluted. Yeah. I can't imagine picking up Convoluted Universe 4 as your introduction to Dolores Cannon.
Yeah.
It's like learning how to fly by, jumping off a cliff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was pretty mind-bendy.
Yeah. But I had already like it resonated. It just resonated. It's like, yeah, of course. Of course that's how it is. Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, and so your family, what do they think of you doing all this woo-woo stuff?
Well, so as I mentioned, my son was 20 when I went to training, right? And as you know, we had to practice on people before we got our, training wheels off and called ourselves practitioner. So I had my daughter at the time, she was 18, okay? So I had all of my kids' friends lined up as my practice.
Oh my God. You're that mom.
Just like doing sessions on these 19 and 20-year-olds. Next.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Oh my gosh. If someone had told me my life purpose when I was 19, oh my gosh, all the time you're wasted. But, oh well. So the kids were into it straight away.
That's awesome.
So they thought it was awesome. Yeah. My husband's had a session, not from me.
Okay.
From another practitioner, so he's into it as well. But he was always the weird, spooky one before I even got into this. But I do tell, as you know, as level 3s, we have to teach as well as practice as a level 3. And I tell students, I'm like, please do not practice on your husband. That is the person you could try to practice on.
Exactly. Right. I would probably say parents as well. Don't practice on your parents. Yeah. So did your parents embrace what you're doing?
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, very fortunate. Wow. So what else do you think that we should know to radiate wisdom? Anything we haven't?
Well, I'll touch on the chapter in the book about how to commune with higher self.
Yeah.
That's important wisdom, because you don't have to have a QHHT session. You can just go and commune with higher self anytime of any day, and they are yearning for your attention.
Yeah.
And so simple. And again, this is as freaky as the other, what is my life purpose? The same answers coming through over and over and over again, right? But number 1, get out in nature. Get out of the house. Get in nature. And there's so many good things that happen when you're in nature. Sit, touch the earth, quiet your mind. And then you have to ask. We're in a dimension of having the experience of free will.
Right.
They can't help if you don't ask. They're not allowed to. That's the law of free will.
Yeah.
So you have to actually ask when you want to connect, what you want from the connection, and then listen.
Yeah.
Usually their language is symbolic, not always. But usually they're going to give you your answer symbolically in some way. So then your homework, there's two things that you have to do that's your homework.
Mm-hmm.
One is know what you want. That takes some homework. And then number two is to understand their language, understand their symbology.
Yeah.
What's the higher meaning of what you're being shown?
Right, exactly. And knowing that it can come with visual symbols, through auditory symbols, through kinesthetic symbols, through many different... What's that?
Emotions, feelings, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Senses, all of it. Learn to, learn the language of spirit.
Yeah.
The language of your higher self. So important. Because we all, well, I can't say we all, but so many people think it has to come a certain way.
Right.
It has to be like this, it has to be like that. And if it doesn't, it's like, yeah, I'm getting this information, but it's not like I thought it would be.
Right. For me personally, it's colors.
Oh, yeah. Colors are huge to me. Isn't that
Red
crazy?
means one thing, blue means another, green means something else, yellow means something else. And so I know that if I'm having this experience of noticing a certain color, that there's actually a meaning associated with that.
Oh, yeah. I don't doubt that at all. Yeah. That's an important way because color has its own vibration. It has its own consciousness as well. Yeah, absolutely. Mine is mostly cognizant. So I'll have just a download.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden. Yeah. We were having lunch in Florida and all of a sudden I got a download. I'm like, wait, download. So knowing what that is, then, okay, I'm not sure why I know this, but I know it, just knowing that could be a message for us. Communication to us.
And I have this theory that they're up there, they're in their dimension going, why isn't she listening to us? He's screaming at her. Why doesn't she hear?
So I have a lot of clients who have said, we've tried to tell her. We keep telling her over and over. She just needs to listen to us. Oh my God. I kind of picture them sitting around on a cloud watching Oprah and eating bonbons and going, have you heard from your person today? No, they never call, they never write. Have you heard from your person? No, they never call, they never write. We have to ask.
Exactly.
It's like they ask.
Then get quiet and listen.
And get quiet and listen. That's just it. Quiet and listen. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this has been really fun, Holly. I always have so much fun talking with you. And you're doing important work. You've got another book that you're working on. I
am. It's surprising, it's Finding Forgiveness, Surprising Healing from the Higher Self.
Yeah.
That one's coming in as well. So, yeah.
Oh, wow. The answer is usually love. But I can't wait for that book because it's going to be equally as important. I think we all need to know that, how to forgive, that it's not the, whatever you did, you just come over for dinner every Sunday and we'll just sweep it under the rug. It's not that at all. Right. And so I'm really looking forward to that book coming out.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. You have anything else that you're working on that we should know about?
I don't think so. Not right now. I've been doing these helping with these channeling sessions from a client of the expansion project. So she's on the runway getting ready to take that and go crazy with it.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So if we can, I'll put the link in the show notes so that everyone can see the expansion project and connect with you. So you've got a website, and the website is?
awarecaredurango.com. awarecaredurango.com.
In Durango, Colorado. Thank you so much, Holly Duckworth, for joining me today. It was delightful.
Thank you.
Radiate Wellness is an international community of holistic and alternative healers dedicated to helping you create spiritual, energetic, and physical well-being. To learn more about our practitioners, services, classes, and events, or to schedule an appointment, visit us at radiatewellnesscommunity.com.